Hello my friends and welcome back to Garhdo Goes Geek. I've recently gone past my 4th anniversary for the podcast, meaning I'm now on to my 5th year of creating content, and so as a result I thought it might be time to post another update, as it's been a bit of a time since I've uploaded anything new, which I am very sorry about. So, on that topic, first of all, and more than anything, I want to apologise to everyone out there for the lack of content over the past year, especially when contrasted to the year before. There's been a few reasons for this, but things are a lot better now, and I'm hoping to get a more consistent schedule in the near future. I especially want to apologise to Dan, who is one of the earliest supporters of my podcast and the gentleman who purchased my first commission. It has taken me an embarrassingly long time to actually produce this episode, and all I can do is apologise wholeheartedly. I just hope, Dan, that you really enjoy the final episode when it arrives in the near future. Once we're past the Easter holidays here in the UK, I should have it out within about a fortnight, and I'm currently making it my top priority. Beyond that though, I'm just hoping to talk a little bit about all of my content streams and give you all an idea on what I am currently working on. I'm doing this for transparency and accountability to you all as my fans and subscribers, as well as to give you all a tease of what the future holds. So firstly, the podcast. As I just said, the commissioned episode will be the next episode that gets released and is my top priority from now until it is complete. Following this, I have a significant portion of work done on my next X-Men History episode, which will probably be a part 2 of 3, possibly even 4. Basically, while I was able to cover between the 60s and 90s in the first episode, the 2000s have a lot of side X-Men titles and crossovers that add a lot of history, characters, and events that I am covering, especially as the team members spread out into other Marvel teams like the Avengers. I have 2 collaborations upcoming with my partners and occasional co-hosts Tallulah and Zulu. Tallulah and I are going to be taking a look at David Lynch and Mark Frost's phenomenal Twin Peaks from the early 90s, a show which we both adore. However, with Zulu, we will be taking a look at the incredible Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a series I recently watched for the first time, but that she has loved for years. 4 big episodes that I'm currently watching content for in the background are my latest MCU episode and my 2-part Star Wars episode, all of which I've spoken about before, as well as a retrospective on the Fox Marvel films, now that those films are becoming more important in the current MCU saga. The multiverse saga. Now, doing that won't leave me much of Marvel's live-action output that I won't have covered in some form on the podcast before we get to Secret Wars. So, when Secret Wars finally drops in a few years, that will probably be the next time I look at any Marvel films. I do plan on doing the bits I'm missing, so Ghost Rider, Blade, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's not going to be happening immediately. I do want to space these larger episodes up with some other content though, focusing mainly on content I'm already familiar with. So expect more episodes on Doctor Who, Star Trek, video game franchises, and one of my childhood favourites that is actually celebrating a milestone anniversary this year. I'm also hoping to look at all the classic Superman films as we get closer to the release of Superman Legacy, and look at the legacy that prior adaptations of the character have left behind them. I've also started reading through the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics published by IDW. and I'm a huge fan of what they're doing to reinvent the franchise. So I think it's safe to say that you can expect an episode on them at some point in the future. But that will be a while coming. I also have some polls up on my community tab on YouTube, asking what you, the audience, would like to see in the future. And of course, when we finally get to the 100th episode, Tallulah, Zulu, and I will all be sitting down and having another round table discussion, this time looking at the Cornetto trilogy of films by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, namely The World's End, Hot Fuzz, and Shaun of the Dead. Secondly, the streaming. I have now set up a separate YouTube channel for all of my gaming content. It's Garhdo Goes Gaming. I have been able to successfully link it to my Twitch, which is enabling my game streams. I'll be able to upload them directly to YouTube in the future. This will make uploading any new streams in the future much easier. Unfortunately, I do have a backlog of previous streams for Half-Life 2 and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic that have yet to be uploaded before I feel that I can continue those two games. So in the meantime, I am looking at starting some other games, but not yet being aware of how much time I can spend streaming in the future and not wanting to break the content up too much. I am debating what I can play in the meantime that won't take up a huge amount of time, while continuing to ensure that all the previous streams are uploaded as soon as all the videos are edited and rendered. So I have some candidates in mind for this, such as the classic Doom games and mods, the early Saints Row games, Sonic Origins and Sonic Mania, the original Fable, a Lego game like Lego Marvel, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, Space Marine 2, the Batman Arkham games, or the original Resident Evil 4. I will likely not make any final decisions until after the Easter holidays here in the UK. However, I do think all of the others are prospects for future gaming streams anyway. So, like future streaming projects. So, whether they happen immediately or down the line, these will all be ones that I'll probably be playing at some point. But up until then, there's a few videos up for Half-Life and Star Wars, and there's more to come. There's also a classic Doom map. I've played through the episode No Rest for the Living, which I very much enjoyed. So yeah, you can find those on my gaming channel. Links are in my link tree, and there should be a pop-up on the side if you're watching this on YouTube. So yeah, if you are interested in any of my gaming content, that's where you can find it. That frees it up from the main channel on YouTube as well. So, and finally, I want to talk about the blog. Recently on my blog, I have updated the Marvel Cinematic Universe watch order that I published a while ago to include all the releases up until Agatha All Along and Captain America Brave New World, and published a blog I worked very hard on regarding toxic fandom, which collated a lot of thoughts that I've had on this topic for a while now, and will likely get turned into an actual episode of the podcast in the future in a similar way to the previous Warhammer blog. And I also published my first completed timeline that included books and comics, this one for the Alien and Predator universe, which was a large but very interesting project to complete, and something I may do more of in the future. The other blog project I'm currently working on is a thought experiment as to how the Marvel Cinematic Universe could look if Marvel had had the rights to all of their characters and had started making films in the late 90s themselves. So rather than licensing out X-Men, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, etc., they have all of them from the beginning, and instead of Fox or Sony making these projects, it's Marvel themselves having the same sort of control that they had with the later Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've already done plenty of background research for this project, as well as written plenty of background explaining my thought process for certain choices that I'm going to make. I'm quite excited to reveal my ideas for this one, so I'm looking forward to publishing that in the future as well. There are no other immediate watch or read orders that I am feeling overly compelled to make. I am considering, that I haven't already done. I am considering doing one for the Jurassic World franchise, but honestly, that isn't as complicated as some of the others that I've worked on before. I may eventually add the current comics and novels to the Star Wars timeline that I released previously, and I will likely do watch orders for some of the future episodes that I'm going to publish on the podcast, such as for Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its connected shows, or the IDW TMNT comics. But for now, the only other order that I am really working on, albeit in a much less active capacity for now, is a timeline of the universe of Warhammer 40,000, which includes as many of the novels and rulebooks to enjoy any part of this setting, including highlighting some of the best entry novels into the franchise, the current lore of the latest edition of the tabletop game, and the most essential books in the sprawling but best-selling Horus Heresy saga. However, with all of that said, this is a blog that is at closest estimate at least 6 months away. So expect it only after all of the other content that I have discussed in this update. I do have one other future idea that has literally just occurred to me while I was sitting and writing this, which is to do a timeline of sorts for Doctor Who. Obviously not looking so much at the actual linear order of events due to its nature as a time-travelling show, but working out the connections between the different iterations of the show over the years, and their connections to not just spin-offs like Torchwood, but also the Big Finish audio productions. However, this would take a lot of work, and so this would be even further in the future than the Warhammer idea. So don't expect it before 2026, to be honest. If not much further in the future than that. And so that's it for this update. As I said, I do feel terrible that I am in the position I am, where I have had to abandon or postpone projects that I was planning. But I feel worse that I have left my subscribers, my followers, my fans, people I cherish and respect, and I am so grateful for, waiting for months for what has only been a drip feed of content, when I had plans to do so much more over this past year. But unfortunately there have been many reasons why this has happened. Some I have spoke about previously, others I haven't, and all I can do is apologise. From now on, things will release when they are ready. And while I will do my best to do this in as timely a manner as possible, I just hope that you will all appreciate that this is a one-person operation. I script, record, edit, and render everything myself. So things take time and a lot of effort, and I am hoping to show that soon when I'm document exactly what goes into one of my episodes, to give you all a bit of a peek behind the curtain, as it were. Until then, as always, my friends, I want you to please do the very best you can to look after your physical and mental health, and treat yourself right. And because I've been harsh on myself, and it was necessary, but in treating myself right, I'll be able to treat you right. Bye for now, guys. I love you all. Until next time. Thank you for joining us here at Garhdo Goes Geek. Your support of this podcast means the absolute world to me, and I am grateful to everyone who listens. If you wish to engage more with myself and my co-hosts, we have a few other ways to do this. Firstly, if you go to the link tree linked in the description, you'll find links not just to this podcast on every platform, but also to our Discord server, where you can interact directly with all of us, and a link to a dedicated subreddit for this podcast. There is also a link to a supporting Blogspot page, where I'll be posting supporting material for this podcast, including progress updates, schedules, and watch orders for the content I cover should you wish to watch along with me. I also have a link to a Spotify playlist featuring some of the music items I've discussed in the podcast. You can also add me on Facebook if you so wish, or follow on Twitch, where I'll be hosting a weekly stream. Finally, there is also a link in there to Ko-Fi, where you have the option to leave a one-time tip if you so wish, or alternatively to commission your own podcast episode. So if there is a topic you would like me to cover that I have yet to do so, then you can request I cover it for a small sponsorship fee. However, if you do not have the means to do so, then all I ask is that if you could please like, subscribe, and share this podcast with anyone else you think may like it. I love you all. Until next time, bye for now.